Hello, dear mentors. Let's talk about part one, specifically the graphs, which is the main activity in part one to explore real data. And let's first talk about the student workbook. So they'll receive this big graph in pairs of two working. And the first thing they will do is to match graphs with groups of people. So they have to match each graph with one of the six group of people. Important that there's no random guesses, that they really have a justification for each. Then mentors will show the answers, and students will say how did they do, right? How did they fare? Then you discuss interesting trends and really analyze the graph. So don't jump just to be too quick. Let's see how this is done. And here's the answer key. The first thing they could guess, students, as you saw in the preparation homework, is that this graph of being alone, they could deduce why when as you grow older, there's many chances you end up more with yourself for various reasons. So that's one way. That would be maybe the first graph. The other is family. They would probably guess that the younger you are, the more likely you have to be with your family, right? Taking care of you, or just with siblings or cousins, etc. So that should be B, this graph. And then it just goes down a lot. They could also guess that coworkers is really zero at the beginning of your life. So they will look for some graph that is really zero. So this would be F here. And that it also goes down as you grow much, much older because you don't work anymore. So you kind of retire maybe in average 60, 70, let's say, and it just drops a lot. They could also think about partners kind of in a similar way. And so that's A, that you start with not much partners, then you get a partner and you spend quite a lot of time. And then as you grow older, you still spend time even more with your partner. So that's some conclusion they could arrive at. And then friends, to me, yeah, maybe the trickier one, the one that is just ruling out the others, but they could still say, so this is C, that time with friends, it's a lot at the beginning of your life, 15 to 20, right? You have a lot of friends and a lot of opportunities to be with friends because you don't have maybe a job or going to college, you still have lots of opportunities. And then as you start working, decreases, but not too much, right? You still have time with friends, which is half an hour every day on average. And then it remains stable. So C is a really interesting graph because it's almost constant, pretty much. So that's how you would do it. Then part B is just to pretend, just to extend to 10 years old and speculate the number of hours for an age of 10. So let's not do it, but let's just say that it's kind of going back and projecting back these graphs. Where would they come from? For example, family, of course, you cannot drop, you probably go up a little bit, right? Because that's the shape of it. So it's kind of predicting what's the shape if you want to go to the left to this graph. Still not personal, still talking about objective things, trying to just predict or speculate data. And then for C, it's actually how many hours would you like to be with each group of people when you're 35 and 75? This is done in pairs, so each student will plot 6 points. They will compare and they will also redo for age 75. So this doesn't need analysis, mathematical, or conclusions. There's no unique answer. But what really matters is that this is consistent. Like the sum of these hours cannot be way more than, right, than 16 or so hours. It has to be less or so because we don't include sleep, right, in these graphs. So it has to be consistent, right? You have to, these have to add to something constant in the range of maybe 15 to 17 hours or so. D is together changing one graph, one of the 6 graphs. The 2 students that are working together, they plot a dream graph, so they need to negotiate and agree because they're just making one graph. So for example, they could pick B and say, let's spend more time with family in a way that it's my dream, or pick the partner or being alone, etc. And finally, E, so this was D. And finally, E is personal. It's a dream for myself. Individually, they think about the graph about being alone and how they like it to be in the future, personally, for each of them. They will compare and discuss. And then they'll be ready to brainstorm to what continues in the activity, ideas on how the Americans in general, people in America, in the United States could make that change you can focus on a particular age range. And that will lead to the discussion about loneliness in what goes next in this part one. So the workbook also has separate graphs for each of these. Just to use it optional if you want to make a discussion, because they're cleaner, right? Easier to analyze, or discuss the shape of the graphs in the final reflection, etc. So I hope you have a lot of fun. Enjoy. See you in the next video. Goodbye.